Intro music fades out. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into a story that's more dramatic than any TV show, a tale of power, family, and the lingering echoes of a woman who shaped an empire. We're talking about Hurrem Sultan and the tragic legacy she left behind. Buckle up, because this is going to be an incredible journey through history. Imagine the grand Topkapi Palace, once buzzing with life, now eerily silent. The laughter of courtiers, the whispers of concubines, all gone. Suleiman the Magnificent, the Sultan who ruled the world's greatest empire for 46 years, had passed. He lay in his marble tomb, under domes he himself had built. But his shadow, a shadow of grief, still stretched across the halls. And it wasn't just his. Another spirit haunted those chambers, a spirit as powerful and controversial as any. Hurrem Sultan. Her name, it still stirs up a whirlwind of emotions. To some, she was the brilliant queen who elevated a slave's lineage to royalty. To others, a serpent who whispered poison into the Sultan's ear, unraveling the very soul of the empire. But one thing is undeniable: her memory refused to die. And her influence, even after her passing, was a force to be reckoned with. After Suleiman was gone, the empire seemed to lose its breath. Grand viziers squabbled, the court divided, and the elite janissaries grumbled about unpaid wages. Right at the heart of this storm stood Hurrem's sons, Selim and Bayezid. Now Hurrem had loved them both fiercely, but she'd always dreaded this moment, the day they would stand, not as brothers, but as rivals for the throne. Let's meet them. Selim was known as soft-spoken and, well, quite indulgent. He preferred the comfort of wine and poetry to the rigors of war and duty. Bayezid, on the other hand, was proud and fiery, burning with the same hunger for greatness that had defined his legendary father, Suleiman. Two brothers, two very different paths. In the lavish palace of Manasa, young Bayezid's voice rang with the certainty of youth. The throne should be earned, he declared, not given to the one who hides behind the bottle. His advisors, ever eager to please, bowed in agreement, feeding his ambition. Across the empire, soldiers began to whisper his name, the lion cub of Suleiman. They saw in him the raw strength of his father. But back in the capital, Selim sat under the dim light of a flickering candle, his hands trembling slightly. He knew the whispers, that he was weak, unfit, more poet than prince. Yet Hurrem had seen something in him long ago that others missed: patience. He wasn't one to fight openly, but he was a keen listener, and he knew how to wait. The harem had been quiet since Hurrem's death, but her old servants, often forgotten, still spoke of her as if she were alive. Some swore they could still feel her presence at night, a faint scent of jasmine drifting through the halls, a ghostly whisper behind the lattice screens. And then, one night, Selim had a dream. He was a child again, lying at his mother's feet, her gentle hands brushing his hair. "Do not fear the darkness, my son," she told him, her voice soft but firm. "It only belongs to those who stop moving toward the light." When he awoke, his heart was pounding. He took it as a sign, a message from his mother beyond the grave. The spring of 1559 saw the unthinkable. Brother rose against brother. Bayezid gathered his loyalists, and the entire empire held its breath as two armies, both led by sons of the same mother, grandsons of the same conqueror, marched towards each other. This was the very war Hurrem had always dreaded. It was a brutal conflict, but mercifully, it was short. Selim's forces, guided by shrewd viziers and backed by his father's seasoned generals, crushed Bayezid's army near Konya. The lion cub was forced to flee, wounded and desperate, across the border into Persia, to the very enemy Hurrem had warned her sons to never trust. The Shah of Persia, playing a dangerous game, received Bayezid with open arms. It's even calling him brother. But we all know that in politics, brotherhood is often just a mask for profit. Back in Istanbul, messengers brought word of Bayezid's flight to the new sultan for yes. By then, Selim had been declared the heir. He hesitated, torn between the deep guilt of fratricide and the cold necessity of power. For the first time, he truly understood the crushing burden of the crown and the cruelty it sometimes demanded. And he remembered his mother's words: "Mercy is a luxury kings cannot afford." So, Selim sent gold to Persia, bags upon bags, enough to buy silence, loyalty, and ultimately, betrayal. Months later, In a dusty courtyard far from home, Bayezid and his 4 young sons were tragically strangled by Ottoman silk cords, the same fate Hurrem's enemies had once faced. When the grim news reached Istanbul, Selim locked himself in his chambers. For 3 agonizing days he neither ate nor spoke. Some say he drank until dawn, staring into the night, whispering a single name: Mother. Even in victory, Hurrem's shadow was there, watching, judging, mourning. The empire she had built with her wit and beauty now groaned under the weight of her complex legacy. The harem, once alive with songs and intrigue, had become a mausoleum of memories. The concubines spoke of strange things: phantom footsteps, laughter in empty rooms, a faint sweet scent like burning rosewood that would appear and vanish. Some believed Hurrem's spirit lingered because her son's blood had stained the very stones of Topkapi. Others felt she waited, perhaps for redemption, or even forgiveness. Selim's reign began in uncertainty. He lacked his father's strategic genius and his mother's fiery passion, but he had inherited their profound loneliness. He filled his nights with music and wine, desperately trying to drown out the haunting voices of the past. He ruled an empire vast beyond measure, yet he remained tormented by the ghosts of those who had built it. His father's stoic silence, his brother's desperate screams, and the bittersweet memory of his mother's smile. In the end, it wasn't rebellion or war that truly undid him, but sorrow. Selim, too, son of Suleiman and Hurrem, known to history as Selim the Drunkard, became a poignant symbol of the empire's slow decay, the beginning of the end for the greatness that once spanned 3 continents. Yet even as the centuries rolled on, the legend of Hurrem Sultan refused to fade. Her foundations still stand today: mosques, schools, and charitable kitchens for the poor that proudly bear her name. Her intimate letters to Suleiman are still read in hushed whispers by scholars, who marvel at the tenderness a mighty sultan held for a woman once bought as a slave. In those words, she lives again. I was nothing, she had once written, and you made me everything. If I ever fall from grace, let the world remember that love once ruled an empire. Centuries later, her name still sparks fierce debate: saint or sinner, witch or queen. But every empire that has ever risen knows this profound truth: power doesn't vanish when the body dies. It lingers like a haunting perfume, like a wisp of smoke, like an unforgettable ghost. And in the moonlit corridors of Topkapi Palace, where marble meets shadow and silence breathes heavy, they say if you listen very closely, you can still hear her laugh. The very same laugh that once captivated the ear of a sultan and forever changed the fate of the world. Hurrem Sultan, the slave who became a queen, the woman who conquered an empire without ever lifting a sword. Her ghost walks still, not in sorrow, but in triumph. For even in death, she remains what she always was, the very heart of the Ottoman world. What do you think about Hurrem Sultan's legacy? Was she a ruthless schemer or a brilliant strategist? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more epic tales, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.